Good morning. My name is Gabriel Sumain Garcia.
Okay.
And my partner is Julie Calistone.
Oh,
And our presentation is on coping within Filipino culture. Next slide. Before we start, we're going to do a really fast check-in. So what do you do when you're stressed or going through a difficult time?
mhm. Yeah, so you can comment down below in the Facebook comments, and you can just tell us what you do when you're stressed or going through a hard time. Um, and we can just take a minute to wait on those responses.
You know, Julie, when I'm stressed or going through a difficult time, I really like to do small activities like, simple things like going to the grocery store or singing anywhere, or like cooking a lot. What do you do to de-stress?
I really like going on walks. So like I try to like take time out of the day after I'm working to just like take a walk outside. I like put on a mask and like it's getting cold out, so I bundle up, but I just take a walk around my neighborhood and it's really nice being able to see people even if they're across the street. Um, and so I see that some comments are coming in from our audiences. So one is I like to eat and surround myself with friends and family. I like doing that too. That's really cute.
Same.
Mhm.
Eating, always eating. So
It-
good.
I love eating. Another one is exercise helps me a lot. I don't really feel that. It's hard for me to exercise, but I like
Kind of feel it, but
I kind of
sometimes.
feel it with my, my daily walk. Another one is someone likes to bake. So, maybe stress
Ooh.
baking or just baking. I like that. That sounds really good. Someone else said meditation. That's fun. Very relaxing. I love that too. Okay. So I think those are very good responses. Um,
So now we're going to start with the presentation. So we asked this question because, our presentation is about coping. So what is coping? Coping are actions often that we use in the face of stress and or trauma to help manage painful or difficult emotions. So basically, coping is our conscious effort to minimize, tolerate, and manage stress. Coping allows us to adjust to stressful events and helps us out with maintaining our emotional well-being. And I think you can kind of categorize like coping styles into two things. So like there's internal focus coping, which kind of refers to your own perception of, the stress that you're experiencing and like how you go through it through optimistic thinking, goal changing, values restructuring, and meaning making. On the other hand, action focused coping refers to changing one's activities or daily routine to avoid or distance themselves from the stressful thing. So this can be like, going on a run every day to get your mind off of things. But now the question is, how do we cope as, as Filipinos? So when we are stressed or experience difficult situation, how do we cope with them? In Filipino culture, there are many ways we cope, and one of them being our faith. Turning to our faith and accepting the reality of our situation makes us say phrases such as "bahala na" or "pinapasok ko sa Dios," to stay positive because we have a higher power with us and that we have someone we can rely on. And another way we cope with stress is by helping each other out or pagkikikapwa or bayanihan. Especially now with the current pandemic, our resilience as a community, as a family is stronger than ever before. And to cope with stress, we end up wanting to help others because, it makes us feel good, it makes us whole, and it makes us feel like we're giving impact to our communities. And then another thing that we use to cope is sometimes we tell ourselves to tolerate the stress and to be flexible or lakasan ng loob at pagtitiis. We always want to be courageous in the face of pain, and we try to tolerate it. We try to stay positive all the time, and we try to be, try to understand like ourselves more. And then lastly, sometimes, as Filipinos, we lessen our stress by relaxing or paglilibang, making ourselves happy by doing the things we like and feeling at ease even though we know it's a short time. So sometimes tatawanan natin ang mga problema natin We use humor and creativity to facilitate life improvement after a very stressful life event. But is coping just all positive? Um, is too much positive when you're coping good for you? The resiliency of our culture is amazing, and we cope in different ways that praises us to always be happy and to tolerate the pain we're in always, and to always to try to stay positive. This happiness or saya that we're explicitly exuding to our peers doesn't necessarily mean we're happy. More so, I think it's an artificial happiness that we've made up for ourselves and to try to mask different types of emotions. But the problem with that is that even though we are trying our best to stay positive, sometimes the pain is just too hard, and the experiences that we have are just too hard to go through, and that like having a massive happiness doesn't actually help. And as a result, we turn to unhealthy ways of coping, such as suppression or pagkikimkim, at pagtitiis para makipagsama sa lahat, or to keep the group harmony. But with that, you know, don't suppress your feelings. Be okay with sitting with your emotions, meaning be okay with feeling sad, angry, and really understand why you have these feelings. Because sometimes having a massive happiness and just deflecting all those other emotions and all those other feelings doesn't really help. And so, like, just be okay with sitting with your emotions. And now I'm going to pass it on to Julie.
Okay. So, all right. So now that we know it's okay to express your emotions and not hide them, so whether you're feeling lonely, nervous, sad, or angry, emotion-focused coping skills can help you deal with your feelings in a healthy way. So healthy coping strategies may soothe you, temporarily distract you, or just help you tolerate your distress a little bit more. I know a lot of members in our community are frontline or healthcare workers such as nurses, doctors, caregivers, etc. Because of the pandemic, things can be really stressful right now. So acknowledging your emotions throughout this time is a good first step with dealing with the stress of everyday life. So some examples of coping skills that help deal with emotions can be taking a bath or cooking a meal, as seen with the photo in the presentation. This can be an example of palilibang, one of the ways to cope, which we talked about earlier. So relaxation. You can also exercise, give yourself a pep talk or meditate. I know for my family, we often cope with stress by exercising together. So that may mean, taking a hike or just going on a long walk around the neighborhood. One thing that we also do is we pray. So, which is also a form of meditation and an example of the spiritual way we cope as a community. However, I just wanted to note that while it would be important to use coping skills to relieve some of your distress, coping strategies shouldn't be about constantly distracting you from reality. So while it's good to kind of like lessen the stress and maybe change your emotion towards a certain thing, just as Gabe said, it's really important for us to acknowledge or just know about our emotions, kind of figure out why we're feeling this way towards either someone, something, or a certain situation, and kind of realize, okay, why am I feeling this way? And do I like it or do I not like it? And does it have to do with the situation that I'm in? Which brings us to our next topic, which is problem-based coping. So I understand that dealing with stress isn't just talking about our emotions or our feelings, but it's also realizing the environment that we live in. So problem-based coping is helpful when you need to change your situation or remove a stressful thing from your life. So this may mean changing your behavior or creating a plan that helps relieve stress or become happier. So I understand that while not all of us are frontline or healthcare workers, some of us may still work from home or just have a really busy family life. So trying to maintain a normal life during the pandemic can be really stressful too. So some examples of how to relieve this stress with problem-focused coping skills can be establishing healthy boundaries. So this may mean, taking a break. So maybe it's knowing when you need time alone from family, after work, or you just like after a long day of work, of school, of running errands, you just might need time to just relax and just take a deep breath and just calm down. I know for me, my mom works overnight at the hospital. So she tells us not to bother her while she sleeps. But also at the same time, a way she relieves stress is by asking for support. So this can include therapy, you know, talking to a doctor, going to a mental health support group, but sometimes it's as easy as, you know, reaching out to your support system. So your friends and your family. So for me, my mom tells us to, you know, help around the house, maybe run errands, like go to the grocery store, pick up medication. Um, but at the same time, it's just as simple as like gathering your friends, gathering your family in your support group, and maybe sitting on the couch, watching a movie, and just spending time together and relaxing. So this can be seen as examples of palilibang or, you know, bayanihan, and having that kapwa and having that time to relax and enjoy the time together as a family or as a community. But one thing is that sometimes, lastly, an easy way to cope with a problem or stress in your life is, but sometimes just as simply as putting yourself first. So I understand as a Filipino community, we often think about others first and we often put others before ourselves. But whenever we're feeling stressed or, you know, a little frustrated, sometimes putting ourselves first and thinking of ourselves and our feelings and how we feel about the situation is a really good and healthy first step in figuring out, you know, what can I do to help improve my health or the way I feel about things. So that's one thing. So even though we talked about ways to cope with emotions and situations that affect us in everyday life, I just want y'all to know that there are many healthy ways to cope. So, you know, even though we talked about we gave all of these examples of like healthy ways to cope and how we cope as Filipinos, it's really up to you, the individual, to decide which coping skill is likely to work best for you and your situation. Um, I know that everyone is going through different things. So there are going to be different solutions. So maybe for one person, they really like exercising, but you know, another person may not like exercising or have that ability. So they might, you know, meditate or pray some more, and that's totally okay. I just want to reiterate that there are many healthy ways to cope, and it's different for everyone. But as long as we're taking that first step to create these healthy habits, I think will grow better, not only as an individual, but as a community. So I'm going to pass the mic on to Gabe.
And so now to just reiterate what Julie was saying, we have a little quote. So, you know, we all have different ways of coping. And so learning more about each other and ourselves can foster a more healthy internal and external environment.
Mhm. And so now we just want to leave you with this last question. It's also a poll question, but also a reflection question. So it's, what healthy habits can you use in the future? So it's just some things to think about as we're going into a new year. What healthy habits we may want to start, especially coping habits that we have within our community. So I know one is A, exercising, B, spending time with friends and family safely, C, meditation, or D, all of the above. So we'll just give a little minute for that. Gabe, what do you think you'll do in the new year? Just like, do you think you'll pick up a new habit or try something new?
I really want to learn how to bake, not gonna lie. Because
Yeah.
I like cooking, but like what baking is just like, you know, like I feel like cooking, it's like you just put stuff there, stuff here, stuff there, but baking is like so precise.
Mhm.
And just like I never followed the rules. So it was like, oops.
Yeah, baking sounds like really good, also delicious. I feel like I want to try and cook more as well. Cooking is one of like the coping mechanisms that we have, because I feel like, what is it? It's good for me to, I don't want to spend more money eating out, and also it's
Same.
good for me to just like nourish my body and take care of myself. A lot of people are commenting D, all of the above, which is great. I love that. I'm glad everyone wants to exercise and spend time with family and meditate. I feel like meditation, I haven't really tried meditation, just praying, but I feel like meditation like is very tricky for me. But
It's
yeah.
really nice. I like meditation.
Yeah. So since a lot of people are commenting D, that is the correct response. So congrats to everyone commenting D. I hope y'all actually pick up these healthy habits, or at least try to, as we go into the new year. All right. So moving forward. All right.
Thank you and Happy New Year.
Yes, thank you so much for joining our presentation. We really appreciate your time, and we hope y'all have a happy new year.